Hi, welcome to this free online project based learning. This is a session number 2, that is theory and principle of PBL. So course content of total 5 session. Previously we discussed session 1, that is introduction of PBL. So today we have discussed theories and principle of PBL. In upcoming lecture we will discuss various PBL model, change process to PBL, and various approaches to PBL supervision work. So in this session this session take you back to the start of project based learning by presenting the history of PBL. It is also present the learning theories supporting PBL, historical and currently, as well as learning principle common to many PBL models. So as well as we discuss a difference between project based learning and problem based learning. First, there are two terms. First one, project based learning, and second, problem based learning. So some quite similar, but there is some difference between these two terms. So we'll see what are these some difference. So in project based learning we consider individual or group of students, then teacher define the problem, teachers identify the action step how to solve that problem, and lastly create a new proposed product. While problem based learning, it's a group of students and we not consider individual student. Secondly, student define the problem, where in project teacher define the problem. In problem based learning, student identify the action steps himself, and lastly create a solution and metacognition. Okay, so these are some difference between project and problem based learning, and there is some similarity in both the cases. Teacher work as a guide, or you can say mentor, and it's a student at center, real world connection, active learning, and self and peer assessment. So there are some basic difference and some similarity between these two terms, project based learning and problem based learning. So bottom line, that is, in problem based learning students have more control over their own learning and the process involved, because student itself define a problem and identify the action plan. That's why problem based learning have more control for own learning. Then we outline the history of PBL. In 1916, John Davis progressive movement believed that teacher should teach by appealing the student natural instinct to investigate and create. After that, 1980s, Howard Burroughs, a physician and medical educator, started using this approach to help medical students better diagnose new illness. After that, 1985, high school and colleges start using this approach PBL, and in 1990s 91 school began developing PBL movement to improve student performance, science and other discipline also. So this is regarding history on PBL. Then some theoretical foundation for the introduction of PBL with some general steps involved it. Firstly, step number 1, that is to identify the problem scenario. Second step, identify key factor, we can say input or information required for defining a problem. Then third step, brainstorming missing information, because initially means required information not available with problem, so it necessary to identify the missing information which one useful to solve our problem. Then in step number 4, self-directed learning by studying various literature or by review some articles, we need to define or we can learn basic information, basic concepts behind the problems. Step number 5, assimilated the new knowledge, or we can say grabs the new knowledge from studying. And step 6, that is apply the information which is grabs from step number 5. In step number 7, that is last step, analyze the result, means after application of that knowledge you can now able to solve that problem and give some proposed solution. So these are theoretical background, or you can say generalized steps involved in PBL. Next topic, that is principle of PBL. So below you find 3 different sets of PBL. Principle developed by Illus 1974, then Barrows 1996, and Grabs and Coleman's in 2003. So according to these 3, first we discuss on Illus. According to that, the principle that PBL should be a problem orientation, it should be interdisciplinarity, then explanatory learning, participate directed, team or group work. But according to Barrows in 1996, so principle behind PBL is problem from the focus and stimulus for learning. Problem are the vehicle for developing of problem solving skills. Then new information is acquired through self-directed learning. It should be student centered, small student groups, and teacher are facilitator, and or we can say work as a mentor only. Then according to Grabs and Coleman's in 2003, principle of PBL categorized in 3 groups: first learning, social and content. So in learning, problem, it start with problem, active learning, project organized or case based. Contextual learning includes society and companies. From group to social, that is participant directed, team based learning, and lastly that is content. So explanatory learning and transfer, theory practical content, interdisciplinary learning, and it should be include research methodology. So these are various principles based on PBL work. So lastly we summarize our session that we have tried to learn difference between project based learning and problem based learning. We have seen history behind PBL, some theoretical foundation, we can say generalized steps involved in PBL, and on which PBL works. So principle of PBL. Thank you for today's session, and in next session we'll try to explain our third, that is various PBL model. Thank you.